Hey, what's going on, friends? I know this all got put together last minute, but we are live, so let's hear you in the chats if you're here. We're going to give everyone a couple minutes to get on because I screwed up making this a little bit too last minute, but it's just the way it worked out today. So, oh, awesome, hilarious. Let's go, guys. Yeah, I like it, Corey. Let's go. Squeeze some lemons. It's good, right? All right, we got some people coming on here. Yeah. Very cool. That's hilarious. I'll tell you that after. Very cool. Okay, friends, we're going to give everyone just a couple minutes. If you got a pen and paper handy, you're going to want that, a little bit of water. We are going to get this going. Oh, shit. Jay just asked me. Sorry, friends. Hold on. All right, hold on a second. How do I do that? There we go. Hold on a second. Friends, if you're just tuning in, just give me a second. I got to do a last minute housekeeping thing here, and I'm trying to get that all together. And I will be ready with you in just a second. It's going to give everyone a couple minutes to get on the call, which is always a good thing anyway. And then we will get straight into it. I promise. It's a whole bunch of moving parts here that I wasn't expecting. That just hitting me last minute nonstop all day long, really. So it's one of those days. All right. Hey, what's going on, friends? All right, I'm seeing some people in the chat. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So let's get straight into it so we don't waste any time. I always like to be on time and respect the time of the people who showed up on time. So I dig that. So we're going to talk about all things validators today. I'm going to show you the easy button if you want to. But before we get into the easy button, I'm going to first start by explaining and going over to you what is the validator, how does it work, what does it look like, what are the benefits, all that good stuff. And Jay may end up joining us last minute. We will see, but I've got this. If not, yeah, you're not kidding, Dragon. All good. All right. So a validator essentially means that you own a piece of the blockchain. So that's really exciting because I think we're in the process of building a blockchain that is going to maybe have historic significance, and we will see. Only time can tell, and let it play out, right? So it's a pretty credible opportunity to own a piece of the blockchain. I know if you wanted to be a validator on the Ethereum network right now, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 120K. So pretty damn cool that for just 5 in, we could be a validator on this network, which is very exciting. And so, you know, this is not legal advice. It's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm certainly not telling you what to do. And everything we talk about today are just hypothetical examples. I have no idea how things are actually going to play out, but I can tell you the mechanics, and I can let you play around with the math for yourself, and you can play around with a whole bunch of scenarios and figure out what makes sense to you and if it feels good to you. And so what does a validator do? A validator, essentially the validator network becomes a supercomputer is the easiest way to think about it, right? But rather than having it all on one device where it's easy to attack, easy to destroy, easy to dismantle, easy to put a stop to the network, you don't have it all on one physical machine. I mean, in theory, we probably could buy a really, really souped up supercomputer, and it would probably handle everything that a validation network would require for a blockchain. However, the best way to do it is to decentralize it and have many nodes on the network. And so you are quite literally a node on the network. You are a node on the Lemon network if you are a validator. And what a validator does for ease of simplicity and understanding is that a validator goes in and looks at all the transactions that are happening on the blockchain, and we are going to validate that they are accurate and true. We are going to validate that nobody is sending incorrect or malicious content onto the network, right? And to validate that everything on there is true. So a blockchain really is a truth machine, but the way that you verify the truth and record the history into an immutable ledger is by having multiple, there we go, isn't that fun? You have multiple different validators that come on there together simultaneously and confirm that everything is true and accurate on there. And so that doesn't mean that you personally are on there looking at all this crazy data and clicking, right? It is a software program that essentially runs itself, but that software program, that supercomputer that allows the blockchain to operate, requires a lot of processing power. It requires a substantial amount of memory. It requires super stuff. Has anyone ever dealt with Bitcoin lately? Have you guys all looked at Bitcoin lately? Oh my God, I tried to do a Bitcoin transaction today. Oh, painful. God damn, it's painful. It is so slow. Hey, we got Jay joining on. Very cool. I did not expect this. That's cool. Let's do it. Mr. Jason Anderson, good to have you join us, man. I didn't know you were jumping on today.
I thought I'd just go ahead and surprise you. I figured, you can do it on your own, but I was just coming in to take a little sneaking peek, and you called me out.
Very cool, buddy. Well, I'm glad you joined us. So I was just explaining to them the basics of a validator. So let's hear it from your words so they get to hear spaced repetition and see if our explanations check out, and hopefully the light bulbs go off for people.
Yeah, so look, validators are something that we're concentrating on pretty heavily right now. It's like a piece of real estate. You own it. Everybody asks quite often from the people I'm talking to, what about the token you stake on it? Is that yours? Yes. Do you have reoccurring fees of the validator? Yes. You do have monthly fees. If you cloud host it, even if you have it in your house, there's going to be some maintenance that you're going to have to basically continue running with. And getting going. This is not a set it and forget it kind of thing unless you cloud host it for a white glove service. But I will tell you, it's like having rental property with a property manager if you put it on cloud hosting, or you can kind of run and do your own garbage disposal and fix your own roof if you want to have it on your house. What I will tell you is you own it forever. So we can talk about a couple other chains, but I mean Ethereum, the last validator I think they sold was a few years ago, and I think it was like 113,000 for the Ethereum network. And, that gives them the value of the chain. We're not Ethereum, so ours are not nearly as expensive. But what I will tell you is I think it's going to grow very quickly. And my partners are already starting to ask the question, are we going to raise the prices after August 5th? So I said no. I may be overruled on that, but the reality is right now we need to stake tokens. So I'm actually going to say one thing. You have an opportunity to have a guaranteed rental property. We have founders that need to stake. These guys want to stake them in. Everybody asks, well, how many are? We have 10 founders wallets. These founders wallets would like to find a home on a validator. It's 6.25 million token is being committed to validators. And so we have guaranteed residency if you guys just provide the real estate for us. So that's pretty cool in a blockchain ecosystem, and you kind of understand that's quite a bit of upside to have a renter ready to go and ready to put on, ready to service, and give back to the community. So I think that's what I'll say right now and kind of run through. And then I'm going to watch you actually talk about the technicals, and I'll correct anything that I see you go off on. But I'm sure you actually have it pretty down to a science. So I'll just step back. I do these things all the time. I was going to just do a sneak and peek.
Hey, well, hashtag no pressure, right? Well, let's just clarify that point, then we'll just go back and forth and keep it casual. But when the founders stake their tokens, they would be considered delegators. So it's a great time for a lesson point here. They will be considered delegators, and they will get a return for doing so. They will lock it up for a time period. I'm guessing it's 1 year with a potential renewal for 2. I heard you say that before. And yes. Then the validators are also going to get a percentage return stake. And so all a delegator, well, let's talk about what is a delegator. A delegated stake is someone, they have to use a validator to stake in this network. That's the first thing that people need to establish. So do you want to elaborate a little bit on what is a delegator and what is that split going to kind of look like? Because I know you also mentioned that you were modifying it a bit.
Sure. So look, if you're talking about a validator, that's the real estate owner. Delegator is nothing more than a renter. We're going to come there and we're going to help pay your mortgage. We're going to help pay the excess fees that you guys are encumbering for having the validator. And the number one question I get is, why don't you just buy the validator? we want to be decentralized. Therefore, if we own them all, we're not decentralized. So we want people to have this real estate. We want people to own a good majority of the cul-de-sac, a good majority of the block as we start going, the good majority of the street. And we don't want to own everything. And so I think it's very important to understand the difference between a validator and delegator. We are going to rent your property from you, or a percentage of it. And everybody will. If you go to the website, you hit stake, that stake becomes a delegator. A delegator is nothing more than a tenant that is going to be on your property for a period of time. And by doing that, we get rewards, you get rewards for owning it. And I think that's just a good win-win for everybody. We do things a little differently with the Lemon Chain than others. We have the 2-tier process, which I think is amazing. It's a way for expansion. It's a way for growth. And I think it's great for the way we are trying to put our roots back in the ground of fun, happy, excited, and helping one another.
Right. And so the way that the rewards are shared between validators and delegators is approximately an 80-20 split. Is that accurate still?
Yeah, so this depends. See, this is a moving target. What happens is if you have a lot of real estate available, you're going to drop as being a validator owner. So let's say you have a brand new neighborhood. No one is in the properties. You have a lot of vacant property. Well, the rents can be pretty cheap, which means the renter gets a good majority of the split. Let's call it 80-20 the other way. It's be extreme. I don't think that'll ever happen. Let's just say it's 80-20 the other way. But then as that real estate starts filling up, rents go up. The rent going up is nothing more than a leverage tool to say, look, there's only 20% capacity available. Rents are going to go up. This works for a hotel. This works for a lot of different spaces, even futures contracts. When any commodity or anything is basically done on a futures contract, is based off of supply and demand. This is the same thing. So if you have a valuable piece of real estate that's under high demand, there's no space available. Yeah, it will go 80-20 the other way. So Terry's correct. It's going to be a good majority is going to the validator. I think that will definitely be the case for the short term because we have very few validators and a lot of product to put on them. And so it's a good opportunity for the entry individuals. It's a very good opportunity for us as founders to give that back to the community and to let this be a win-win for everybody.
Are you open to talking about a range of return that is a reward for the staking on various timeframes? So I know that you can change a lot of variables, and if you're on for 3 years in a lockup, you're going to get a different APY versus if you're on for a 12-month stake or a 14-day stake and that kind of stuff. What are some of the ranges going to look like?
It's wide ranges because it does vary on amount of real estate that's available, the amount of the blockchain. When I say real estate, guys, you guys own the blockchain. I want to make that very clear. No one owns the blockchain other than a validator, period. End of story. There are oracles. The oracles do not actually own any part of it. They just basically back up the data and have a second source for it. And there's multiple oracles that are floating around to make sure that not even a one source entity holds those. So you guys own everything as being a validator, and I will own validators. But I think it's very important to understand that the community is the one driving this. And so now that we've gone through that, let's talk about ranges. When you stake for 14 days, that's the minimum. If you have a very high saturation rate of delegators, which means there's very, very low availability, then you're going to be very high. This is going to be somewhere around the 40-45% type of number, okay? As you start opening things up and you have a very low occupancy, just like a hotel, they blow rooms out for $99, come to Vegas, let's go during the off seasons. It's the same thing here, guys. And when this happens, it's a competition. It's all supply and demand. So the chain will actually be AI driven to a point where you will physically be able to change these points of entry to give you guys the best value for what you guys have. And you will be able to do something that's very cool. You can actually do the round robin game, which is amazing. You can basically just let the system fill you up. Or if you're a good salesperson, you know someone with token, you want to basically make a deal with them, you can have them put the stuff on your own validator. If you do 3 years, Right now in testnet, that is shooting as high with very low availability. So let me tell you, this is like a fully occupied hotel getting to the prime days in a very, very popular area in Daytona Beach during Daytona 500. You're literally over 300% a year. And so it's one of those things where you have to understand it's all in supply and demand. So will those percentages be accurate? That changes every millisecond. And so it's not going to be something I can tell you what's going to happen. I can tell you what the ranges are. And then the nice thing is everybody that's doing that delegation or everybody's doing that staking will know what that is as an estimate before they do it. And that is what is going to be really cool about the chain. So before I decide to lock it for a year, I will be able to get that estimate and then I'll lock it in. Once it's locked, it's locked. But obviously, by the time you get your estimate to go in, it may fluctuate a little bit, but you at least know what that estimate is. And that's what the cool tool is, to kind of show you what that is. So you can ponder, do I want to lock it for 6 months? Do I want to lock it for 14 days? Do I want to lock it for 2 years, 3 years? 3 years is the max, 14 days is the smallest. And it's everywhere.
Yeah, so that pops a question off for me. Did I hear you say 300% per year, or is that for the 3-year lockup? Just in that example, I know it's just an example, but I just wanted to be clear. Is that you lock up for 3 years and it's 300% per annum still?
It is, yeah. It's on the pitch model, yeah. That's where in testnet it's pinching off, and understand what that means is it means we don't have enough validators. And so what'll happen is that will basically pinch the end of the cycle. And so a halving will happen when you start getting to those ranges. What'll happen is you need to basically get more people in. You need to spread these things out. And so that's kind of the teeter point that the blockchain will basically say, look, we need to probably have a little bit more space. The validators will vote on it. The nice thing is, no one makes that decision with the validators, and I hope everybody's not greedy because the chain needs to survive too. But at this point in time, you're going to have a halving, and then you'll release more validators, which means more delegation can happen. I think what's really going to happen is you're going to have individuals that start to be delegators, and then they're going to move to validators, and those individuals will then have a bunch of delegators that they will move to validators. But there's going to be a point in time you're going to get pinched, and that pinch is where you're going to start seeing the spikes on both ends. And obviously, when a halving happens, it gets lower, and then as they get closer to halving, you are at a hard pinch, and you're going to have a very, very good upside.
It's amazing. So for those who are wondering, this question keeps coming up nonstop, so I just want to clarify, and you correct me if I've got this wrong, but a lot of people want to know about the cash flow conversation. You and I have been having that for a couple of weeks. I fully get what you're saying now. People need to envision that there'll be nonstop small delegated stakes on their box. And so, ergo, basically, it could, in theory, become every day you've got a delegated stake ending, which then you would get, as a validator, your percentage of the rewards. And that would serve as kind of like the cash flow function, correct?
Correct. We really envision over the next year, you're going to have tens of thousands of individuals that will be staking. So every single validator will have, dozens, if not hundreds, of different contracts at different points of time, and this is going to be something that's going to be fun. You're going to have individuals that'll have, 14-day, 6-month, 6-month and a day, 18-month, 2 years. You may have 20, 30, 40, 50 contracts on your validator, and they're all going to have a timestamp. This is nothing more than looking at a Airbnb renter. Okay, you're going to try to basically get your time filled out, look through, but you're going to want to have your most of your occupancy taken care of. So if you have a 3-year delegator that locks it up, that's like the most prime piece of real estate in the world. You're looking at saying, well, great, I got guaranteed rents for the next 3 years. Now let's just fill up the crumbs. And so as these come along, you may be the lucky winner that basically says, look, I got a 3-year delegator here, and they took 50% of my capacity. And then you may have a bunch of other small ones that, come in for anywhere between 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, in a year. And so I think you're going to have all types of timeframes that kind of comes around. And you have so many other options with this free model around all of the ecosystem projects, around all of the new things coming in. Just go mint some NFTs and you have some cash flow in other ways. I think that's the best beauty of what we're doing is you have all kinds of different ways to participate and gamify it and have some fun. And then I announced a big lemon bomb last night, and that is gas fees are going to be very, very high and heavy with Mega Lemon. And so you understand that even if you have a short-term renter potentially in there, if you have a large surge window with a large Mega Lemon project, that will be paid out with the short-term window as well as the long-term.
Well, and I also envision a lot of scenarios. I was explaining to a friend that, I mean, I can picture a delegator saying, okay, listen, I heard about this new project coming out at the end of the month. They've got a 100 LEM sitting in their wallet right now. They don't want it sitting idle. They go and grab a 14-day stake for a little short upside pump while they're waiting for some new project that maybe you and I were teasing them about. And all of a sudden, the end of the month comes around, that 14-day unlock comes. They've got more squeeze of the juice. They can go participate in the new project that just listed, go and mint their asses off. And in the meantime, that contract closes, and then the validator collects their portion of that rewards. And I think there'll be a lot of that happening all the time. But maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of what I envision. Do you envision something similar?
That's how it's designed, so I sure hope so. I mean,
Right.
every time I like to say I thought ahead, but that's what we envision. We envision people looking at cash flow mechanisms. We look at the delegators, especially saying, I may have a mortgage payment, I may have, some other things kind of coming around, but I can stake this token for 30 days or 45 days and make my commitment. And so, there's no sense in holding token in wallet anymore. It's still yours. It's only tied to your wallet. It is technically your asset. No one else has access to it. It's physically yours in your wallet. It's just in a smart contract, earning you something for participating in the chain. So I think it's very important for people to look at this as a way to protect your assets, grow your assets in short-term, mid-term, and long-term mentalities.
And just so we cover some of the basics for those who are listening, yes, it's going to be all staked in LEMX, and yes, your rewards are also all in LEMX, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure that we're all getting on that. There will be 5,000 maximum per validator. So for those who have that question, that's also correct. That has not changed.
Correct.
And when time comes around for us to do community votes on any number of whatever things, is someone going to need to delegate to participate in that vote, or are they going to be able to just vote via the validators?
You're going to vote just by the validators, but there are ways to bring votes up. And if it gets towards a higher percentage of the validators saying, yes, this is something we need to vote on, that's what a vote actually is called. And then the validators all have responsibility to make sure you are there for that vote. It's not just a situation where you can basically say, I said it, and then I don't need to do anything. The whole idea is to make sure this thing stays decentralized. We don't want 20% of the validators out there being active and then the rest of them are dead. That's not a great way to continue community participation. So there are responsibilities to being a delegator and a validator, and there's also responsibilities to be a delegator. And so I think the biggest thing I want to basically say is the NFT holders in this scenario, if you are both a validator and an NFT holder, you will have the ability to quote unquote proffer a vote. I think this is very important. An NFT holder cannot proffer a vote. You can hear from the community. You can say, look, I'm hearing about this. Maybe we need to put a vote up. But you as an NFT holder will not be able to make any changes without the validators deciding it. That is not me. That is not anybody at the top. That literally it has to go through the validators. So instead of it being a 1, 2, or 3 individuals making these decisions, it is hundreds, if not thousands. And I hope it's 5,000. So.
Right. Well, and that's what people don't understand. And that is decentralization at work. And so the responsibilities of a validator are not vast on a personal time consumption matter, but you need to be a good steward of your chain. We literally own the chain. If things are not working right, if there's some way we can make things better, then we've got to set up votes, and we do have to actively participate in those kinds of things. So a lot of people are asking, where those returns get generated. And I think the easy answer, and if I'm oversimplifying it or missing the mark, let me know. But basically, those returns are being generated via minting fees, a portion of the minting fees, gas fees, and the like are what pay for those returns for the validators and delegators, correct?
Yes, and trading fees every time something goes over a DEX, every time something goes to an exchange. guys, if anybody actually knew what we pay Binance currently right now, I think their heads would explode. But we're anywhere between $1 and $3 million a project right now to Binance. And so if you look at that type of capital turning around and heading to this ecosystem and keeping it in-house instead of paying out to a third party, that is where the validators get their value. And when we talk about having tens of thousands of projects down the road, look, if we can hit 500 projects next year, we should be tickled pink and doing backflips. I have partners with a lot bigger mindsets than that, but I look at it and say, we've basically been heading out this now, call it right around a month. And, we're at 80. I don't really think it's that difficult to look at saying we're going to get 500 this year in the 12-month period. So if that's the number, guys, all these numbers are fantastic, because 500 times $3 million a pop, or even $1 million a pop, it's insanity that we've been paying Binance. And so, Binance does about 1,700 new projects a month.
That's crazy.
So understand that, this community is going to drive it. It's the gas fees, it's all the interchange fees, and it's the minting fees. This is where we can basically take a lot of that value from Binance and just give it back to our validators, give it back to our community.
Well, and then over time, also, there are exchanges, native to the platform that are in the plans. Like they're not tomorrow, but those exchanges then become native to the platform and the ecosystem. And we could, in theory, go out and build an exchange that's bigger than Binance someday. And then guess what, validators? We're in the middle of that as well.
We are shooting on that before the end of the year, Terry.
I thought it was going to be a bit. I was picturing next year, but I knew it was in the works. That's exciting. Yes, and of course, Mega Lemon, of course, as Joe brought up, is very exciting. And so, let's talk a bit more about the responsibilities of validators. Like I was describing right before Jay jumped on, we essentially become we're one supercomputer, but it's decentralized across multiple different nodes on the network, and we all become operating as one. It's one software, but then you need all this processing power, this memory, the storage, and we don't want to be like Bitcoin, where it's slow as hell, expensive as hell, and just absolutely painful to deal with. And so we need a good amount of processing power. And so you guys become responsible for that. And so while you can host at home, it is an option. You can go buy essentially what's called like a mini computer, but you need a good amount of juice to it. But then you need some technical know-how. Then you need backup power if you have a hurricane or a tornado or a storm in your area, or an ice storm if you live in Canada and your power goes out, your validator's offline. It's going to cost you fortunes. And also internet uptime. Like none of us can get a home internet the same way you can get in a cloud. The cloud data centers are built literally on the rails, the biggest infrastructure of the entire internet, the biggest cables there. So their speed, their uptime, and having engineers looking over it. It just essentially makes a cloud hosting option, unless you're a real tech nerd, the answer, essentially, right? Do you want to add anything to that? Am I missing something there?
Yeah, I actually will. There's two things. Number one is there are penalties for coming offline for a 7-day window. And everybody asks, well, what if I delegated to that particular validator that, went offline? Validators will technically be ranked. If you continually come offline, if you continually are not participating, something happens, you're not going to get the high rankings for the delegators. It is unfortunate, but I have to also tell you, if you're a delegator and you just so happen to put token on an individual that decided to do it at their house, and they're in Africa, I'm just going to throw that out there because I've spent a lot of time in Africa, and the internet and power is, let's just say, not perfect 100% of the time. Although they may be trying to do their best job, the reality is you may be down just like they are. That hurts both of you. You don't get to change it around. So in the process of delegating, you're going to want to make sure you don't put it all at once in. You're going to want to spread that around and have multiple, pockets that is flowing through. And I think that's something that you need to understand. This is a full-time commitment you're doing. It's not going to take a lot of time. It's not going to take a lot of effort after it's set up and running. But you still have to worry about it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because you need to understand that you are not going to earn on your own token that's on it unless it is on the chain actually creating blocks and getting it through either. And you're going to have the responsibility, the fact that you have delegators that have put token in your validator, and you're not doing them a justice either by coming offline. And I get asked all the time, well, how does a delegator know which one's good and which one's not? You will have a ranking system with validators, and you will be pushed to the bottom of the line in that if you are continuing to have those problems. But the bigger issue is if you're off for 30 days, you lose your validator. Everybody asked a little bit earlier, well, what happens if, is this fine forever? It is, except for a caveat. You will be voted off the island, I guess is the best way to say it, by the other validators, because it's a responsibility and you're hurting the community if you come offline for 30 days. So it just automatically happens. You lost it. It's done. It's in the terms. And everybody say, well, I didn't know that or whatever. Look, I'm more than happy to give anybody a refund if they are trying to find some of these facts out. The technical papers will be out shortly. You can read through them all. This is a pre-sell. You have not purchased anything yet. You're in a pre-sell. You have locked your position. You will get it. You've paid for it in full. But I also am one that wants to make sure everybody's well aware of what they're getting themselves into in this process. And so if you do cancel, you'll never buy another one again. But I will tell you, I don't want to have anybody not understand what they're getting themselves into. There is some stuff that you have to do if you're thinking you're doing this at home. Please, to goodness, if you don't know, if you've never ever done a validator, just do a white glove service. Let someone else do it for you, especially if you're not tech savvy, because the customer service lines and that trying to figure out how to run and operate a validator is it's non-existent, if I'm being completely honest. So it's a lot of community effort to run. Start with a white glove. In 6 months, 8 months, you want to try this on your own, I would encourage it. I do like having hardware around the world. And I don't like everybody being at one place, but understand that it's like running a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week server, because that's what you're doing. And, if you don't have consistent power energy, you are hurting, not helping. So did I answer that enough?
Yeah,
Mary?
absolutely. I think it's very cool, and I love the rating system and a penalization system. I think that's really important because we're playing in the big leagues. This is not a small little side hustle thing that you don't care about. And don't worry, the math will keep your attention, but you just have to recognize that there are some responsibilities to the chain. I think that's the important thing. And so, when it comes to cloud hosting, there are a bunch of different options. We're not going to dictate to you what to do. We're just going to give you some ideas, some things to think about, and things that I think make sense. And, there are such things as subpar clouds. There's guys who, operating in their garage in Indonesia using equipment that's 15 years old that will call themselves a cloud. And you can get that on the cheap, and you can get all the hyperscaler, multi-billionaire clouds. I mean, of course it is an option. I don't think Bezos needs your money. Just going to say that. And what you usually do is you get what's called a virtual machine, and then you're in charge once you purchase that you have to be the one to go and install it and maintain it and understand the software and navigate it. And most people aren't going to be equipped for that. And so there are some white glove services. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And like I said, I think this is something that it's an investment in you. It's an investment in your future. It's an investment in the chain. I don't use the word investment very much because this is real estate. This is something that, I could buy my laptop and be an accountant and put software on it, and I can make a lot of money. But if I never turn it on and never bring a client on, I got news for you. I don't make much money as an accountant and run anything either. This is something that's going to have some task to it. You can either delegate that task to a white glove service, or you need to be prepared to learn and get proficient in it. So.
Right. And so there is one cloud option. It's just an option. Just want you guys to say that. I'm going to repeat this again. It's just an option. Okay. No one's obligated to do anything they don't want to do. It's just an option. But there is a white glove service. There is a cloud. And yes, I'm a teeny tiny owner, have a little stake in it. So the full disclosure. But the entire cloud is basically owned by Lemonheads. And so I would just encourage you to strongly consider supporting other fellow Lemonheads the same way if you own some Lemflix NFTs, you're way more likely to just go and become a Lemflix subscriber and kind of support your own network, your own ecosystem. And so that option does exist. So we will provide you a link. You can go and kick the tires and have a look at that, or we can talk a little bit in detail after. But let's make sure we get all the validator centric things that someone who's considering being a validator would want to know kind of answered and handled. So if you guys ever have any other questions, drop them in the chat. I want to make sure I'm trying to catch the questions as they go by. Another thing we should also state, Jason, is that there are no guaranteed returns. There is no ROI. There is no way to measure it. All the rewards that you would get as a validator are very dependent upon the success and activity levels of the chain. Would you like to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, this is not on the efforts of others. This is on the efforts of you keeping your machine on and, filling it full of coin and operating it correctly. Again, this is software. If you use it well, it can do well for you. But it is 100% on you to do that. And this is not just us, guys. This is about 50% of the chains that I look at very, very closely almost every single day. I always like to see what else is out there. I always like to see the extent of how they are coming up with new ways to and get more creative. I mean, the different algorithms and processes that they're running with. We run a proof of stake, but I mean, there's proof of work. There's which is Bitcoin. There's proof of stake, which is Ethereum and us, and about 100 others. There's also proof of action and proof of delegating and proof of gamifying, and this is something that in the Web3 space it is always changing. And so I think getting more comfortable with what these processes are and what the terms are is very important. I get asked all the time, "Are you doing something different than Bitcoin?" Yes, we are. We're doing proof of stake. We are in the, I'm going to call it 80% category of the current chains that are well recognized in the industry. We are the second largest crypto company in the world, which is Ethereum and the Ethereum Foundation. We are using that model. Proof of work is something that does have its pluses. It also has a lot of its negatives, and I think proof of work is something that is annotated technology. I think proof of stake is where it's going to head, and probably some other really cool technologies that I've seen over the last 6 to 8 months as this just continues to grow. And so I believe that this is the time and the place to obviously enter Web 2 to Web 3. We are doing our best to make sure that it is a simple onboarding process for everybody, even the validators. There are white glove services that can basically take this thing and turnkey it for you with some exceptions. You still have a dashboard. You're still going to have to monitor your white glove service. If they are not doing their job, move it. It's your asset. If you have a property manager that's not treating your property well, this is the best way I look at it. And I have no problem with Terry going out here and talking about an option. This is great. This is free enterprise. There are all kinds of options. Please give Terry a try if it works for you. And if it doesn't, then there are a billion other options out there. This is a property manager. Give everybody an opportunity. If your property manager doesn't work for you and you're looking at it in your dash, you're looking at the downtimes, if it's staying up, you're getting activity, great. If it's not, fire your property manager and go somewhere else. This is the benefit. So I have no problem with Terry opening up what he's got available. I think it's great. I think it's awesome to support fellow Lemonheads and in their ventures. And I wish everybody the best. And I know what he's looking at is a great service. And so I'll leave it kind of at that. We've got about 40-minute mark. I have another phone call here in about 3 minutes. So if you need me for anything else, I'm more stick around and kind of answer any more questions, Terry, before I jump off. If you see anything in the chat that I can assist.
Let me just hit you with a few quick questions and we'll let you jump off and then I'll field the rest. But I feel comfortable with this discussion. You can own more than one, correct?
Yes.
And you can, in theory, have more than one on the same cloud because most clouds are actually in multiple locations as well in terms of their hardware. So that's correct.
Yes, you do need a different wallet for each validator, but that's free. You just have to basically set it up to 2 segregated wallets. But yes.
Very good. No technical expertise required so long as they choose some kind of a white glove provided service, correct?
You need to be able to turn on a computer and look at your dashboard. Other than that, you are correct.
And everything else that they need to learn about being a validator and the responsibilities and being a part of a chain and all that stuff, they're all going to learn it over time. So there's nothing for them to stress about, correct?
Correct. You can start with a white glove service, and then you can be as involved as you want, and even quite honestly, turn a little server farm into your basement. And I did it with another project. It was kind of fun. It was a nice side hobby. It is a lot of work. I'll leave it there.
You've done it for sure. That's we know.
but it can be fun, and you can feel like you have more ownership down the road. But white glove service is great. It gets everybody in with training wheels.
The one other question I should have paraphrased that: you can have more than one validator, but you cannot own a large piece of the network because that's not in any of the validators' interest. Correct?
That is correct.
So there you go, friends. I'm not seeing really other questions that are popping up beyond, I think, the things that we've covered. So yeah, jump off the call. I'll just see if they have any other questions on there, and I'll grab it. And if not, we'll wrap up the call.
Look, I'm going to basically wrap it up with saying, guys, we need help. We have a lot of founders token that they need a home. We need to be able to rent some real estate from you. I would basically let these guys go out there and buy all the validators they need. Trust me, they would love to. It's more important for us to make sure this is decentralized from the beginning. I don't even want to start in a model that it is not centralized, or it is centralized. I want to make sure we're always decentralized. And so help us get this mission and get it done. And we will reward you by using the founders token that is currently right now sitting locked up, and we will put it into the validator so the world can see that it is locked, and the world will physically see the fact that you guys are controlling it, not us. I think that's very important. And the time frame, it will be locked from 1 year to July 1st. I will tell you, I don't think it's going to come out unless leverage hits. It's going to go from one to another. And so this is a great opportunity as a option of what to do with your token. And there are others that will be coming down the line down the road. But I think this is a great way to support the ecosystem and support something that you can actually have some value in and ownership of. So,
well, I mean, people don't understand that we are going to lock up almost the entire supply, which is just fantastic and super great for all of us. One other question for you that does come up. What is the 6th basically the goal date for us to be live on testnet? Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, so testnet is goal 1. Obviously, getting the validators physically set up is going to be a task, unless everybody's white glove and all at a large name I won't mention, where it's basically a simple turnkey and we're all there. That actually doesn't decentralize anything either, by the way, because we're all going to be dependent on $1 billion company. So I like the fact that they're going other places. I like the fact that they're around the world. I like the fact that they are physically diversified out as well. And so testnet's first. Testnet needs to basically come online with the oracles. The oracles will run the testnet until the validators are set. I'm going to say that's probably about a 2-week period. That's kind of what we're looking at to kind of get everyone their software, have them find their hardware, get everybody live. At that point in time, we're going to go ahead and pin it up. And pin it up is basically going to be, we're going to go from testnet to livenet, and we're going to be doing testing on livenet. I do not want to start pushing. We estimate close to 10 million transactions in the first month. And so if we jump up too soon without all the validators on, understand we are going to fall quickly. We need to make sure the validators are up, they're servicing well, we're getting good ping reports, we can actually track everything. That's probably going to be the month of August. That I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm planning on a full migration starting probably the last week to 10 days of August and migrating that volume over. I don't want to have this open long time. I don't want to repeat a V1 to V2 scenario. I want to basically keep everybody where they're at right now until I can give you guys a 10-day window. And when I feel comfortable with a 10-day window, we're going to go ahead and start the migration process and move over. I'll actually add 2 things to that, because I've actually had about 5 emails today regarding what happens to the individuals that have not been contacted on the 4 projects. Guys, I am all about bringing people forward. They will have less options because they haven't been paying attention. They haven't been good stewards of what's going on via the emails, via the chats. It's not all their fault. So understand we are leaving a window open for those individuals if it is a choice for those 4 projects to come to Lemon. And I have to state that I have a very, very high confidence level that's happening. But until that vote happens, I won't be able to tell you a definitive it is. If hypothetically that vote happens and these projects decide to burn themselves completely to nothing and come to a free ecosystem, they have no money over here, none. They are coming over here in a free model. If that's something they decide to do, that window will stay open for them for these sister projects, and they will be able to come over for a year. I will leave it open for a year. Now, they will have some downtime. I do not want to have anybody left behind that missed the 8 ball on the 4 projects and did not get notified early. That does not mean we're keeping swaps open. Those are migrations. It's a different thing. They're coming over from one project to a same project with a little bit different tokenomics into Lemon. But that way they can go directly on the DApp and everything else. I've got that question a lot. What about all my friends that I haven't been able to talk to? What about all my family members I haven't been able to get into this yet? They're just not paying attention. Guys, I have told everybody I'm trying to make sure everybody can stay and come along for the ride. And we really do feel this is a family and I don't want to leave anybody behind. So for those 4 projects, we will leave not a swap, but a migration function forward if hypothetically they come to Lemon. I got to make sure the vote's not done. High confidence level that they will come, but until that happens, I can't say for sure.
Very cool. Last question then. The remaining validator slots I'll assume, open on or around September 1st, just for ease of understanding. Is that accurate?
Yes. And I'm going to fight my damnedest to make sure it stays at 5,000 for this year. And I cannot guarantee it, but I can tell you that's my goal, because at a $5,000 level, it allows us a lot of room to decentralize this. I believe the higher the price gets, we are going to box people out that I actually want helping the ecosystem. So it's definitely something I don't have full ability on. I can definitely tell you that we have some difference of opinion once we realize we're staking this much in them. The profitability of them is a month in. Trust me, I've got a lot of individuals with different mindsets on that. I will do my damnedest to make sure that it stays at that $5,000 level for 2024. After that, it'll be a free market. It'll basically go, supply and demand.
Maybe something the validators might vote on.
I hope to goodness we can put that back to validators, because validators will keep it as low as possible, most likely, but they may be selfish as well and say, nope, I want to raise it.
Yeah, exactly. They want to corner the market. Yeah. But we'll know based on volume if it's required or not. And we have to make the best decision for the chain at the time.
That is
fantastic. Well, we'll let you jump off. I'll stay on for another couple minutes if anyone has any questions. And yeah,
enjoy, Terry. Hey, thanks for having me tonight, and I'll jump off. See you later.
Fantastic, Jay. Have a good one, man. All right, friends. So let me just do a little bit of housekeeping. If there's any other questions, you drop them in the chat, and I'll try and answer them if you need them. Yeah, 1 year. I know. I was surprised by that too. That we'd have 1 year to move those projects over. Wow, that's very generous. But we'll go for it. All right, so there's no obligation for you to go and do it today, but some of you green personality types just want to have this handled, right? So if you already have a software license, right, that real estate that you buy, that $5,000 validator, that's like essentially buying a software license, so to speak, just for ease of understanding. And then you are responsible, that's another responsibility of the validators, to have high-powered computing, and you get to choose wherever you want to do it, right, to have it online and done for you. But there is a cloud where, by the way, if you think I'm benefiting from the whole thing, it's impossible. We are actually going to take up the entire capacity of the cloud, I suspect. And I'm just a teeny tiny little owner in there. The same way but I will say this, the same way that the validators are essentially a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, the cloud is also a decentralized autonomous organization. There is no one owner. You can be an owner of that cloud. You can also be an owner of hardware within the cloud. So you do not need to validate on anybody else's hardware. You can absolutely validate on your own hardware and own a piece of the cloud for yourself. If you would like to, just like put that out there. You message me privately if you want to discuss it and look at those options. That's fine. But you can go and get your validator set up if you like. Complete white glove service, everything done for you at lemonnodes.com. The pricing is, by the way, is a pre-sale pricing. This is absolutely a pre-sale pricing. When I asked a high-level AWS rep in our Lemon community, he thought validators should be in between 300 and 700 a month, depending on the volume. And so the prices may change a little bit over time. What we don't have right now is any data. We have no data to see how busy the chain's going to be. How busy are those validator nodes going to be? How much data is going to go in and out? How much data storage is going to be used? So there will be a bit of a sliding scale, but for those who commit early, this is the price. It is $179 with a one-time $89 setup fee. And if you commit for 12 months, you can save some money as well, which I think is pretty damn cool. So that's very cheap. That's the processing, that's the storage, that's everything taken care of, all the software installation, everything done for you. I don't think I got those numbers wrong, but anyway, you can check it out, lemonnodes.com, see for yourself, see if it makes sense. But the entire cloud is owned by Lemonheads. You can also be an owner of hardware and or DAO seats, and you can get NFTs and tokens and all that good stuff if you want to. And so those are monthly expenses. That is very competitive. I ran a search on AI and asked, what does the average validator in crypto pay for their monthly cloud hosting? And the AI said 500 is the average. And so this is an early bird discount. Absolutely. It'll probably be more like 250 in the future, plus your setup fee. But for now, hey, you get in early and you save some dollars, which is fantastic. And yeah, no, 88 is the setup fee, I believe. So I only got to see the site quick before I jumped on here, but all those details will sort themselves out. It's at lemonnodes.com, and you can go in there and check that out. So yeah, that is an option for those who want to be a validator. And if you're concerned about those costs, then you really, 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 really do not understand what being a validator is like. Validators on a busy chain bring in gobs of lemon tokens to you, gobs and gobs of them. The hosting fee is just, it's a negligible, non-existent property management expense, if you will, if you want to look at it that way. So you can go and do that. You guys all know how to get in touch with me if you have other questions about certain things. Yeah, no, guys, the original comments that you heard about the cost of validators was only accounting for one segment of what validators do. When you factor in the data and all the other stuff, that is the cost. Like I said, the average cost for validators online in crypto, this is about 30% cheaper than anybody else is doing it for. Even some of the discount providers are about 30% more than that to get an accurate equivalent of what is being offered. And so we consulted very much with high-level AWS people as well to look that up. So yeah, so that website is new, by the way. So if there's problems or questions, just hit me up in the DMs. I will find you the answer. But it's lemonnodes.com, and you can check that out. No obligations. It's just an option, but it's all owned by Lemonheads. Like almost every piece of hardware in there is owned by Lemonheads. So, supporting your own is also good by that. So vote if it's managed by them. I'm not sure I followed your question, Hatter. Sorry, buddy. If we own cloud hardware, can we put? Yeah, Suzanne, it's not about putting it on your individual box. If we get, let's call it 60% of those 5,000 validators, the entire cloud is at full capacity. So it's not about my box, your box. It's the whole cloud gets filled up, and we anticipate the entire cloud being filled up. So it's just every box, every piece of hardware. We have a hardware shortage, by the way, for those who want to be a part of the cloud. We have a serious hardware shortage, way more customers than hardware right now. So great place to be if that's something you want to do. I don't know, Frank. The discount will run for at least a couple of weeks. I mean, I don't know, probably into August, I would say. We'll see. Maybe, I would say probably someone just guesstimating. Yeah, so we are only going live in a test net, August 6th-ish. So you are welcome to wait a few days if you want to, but that's okay. But that's white glove service, by the way. That's if you go somewhere else, you're buying what's called a virtual machine, and you have to install and manage the software yourself. I'm not saying there aren't other white glove services, but that's just not I do not have an appetite for that, me personally. Also, I just wanted to touch on, as I'm not seeing a lot of other validator questions coming up here. A lot of people have been asking about a privacy course because a lot of people want to protect their crypto. As these numbers become significant, there's a lot of risk factors that you guys are exposing yourself to. And like Jason said the other day, validators require a very different level of privacy long-term. And so if you guys have an interest in that, let me know somehow. I'm willing to kind of put on a course. I know the subject matter well. I would give all the lemonheads like a really cheap price, but I don't want to waste my time trying to set up a course if there just isn't enough interest. So you guys let me know if you guys want to do that to protect yourselves and learn to protect your assets and just have more privacy in general in your life. So Ulrich, the returns of what Jason talked about are you get paid every time a contract ends. That's it, not in between. When the contracts end, you get paid. That's just how this operates, right? So as a validator, contracts open, contracts close. The split between delegators and validators happens every time. Contract opens, contract closes, split between the validators gets split up and stuff like that, right? All right, well, hopefully that puts a lot of the questions for validators to rest. There are options there for everybody to go and do. And yeah, we're excited about the future. We'll do some more future calls to make sure everyone just keeps getting their questions answered as new ones arise. And yeah, hopefully it helped. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up because I'm not seeing any new questions jump in. So have a good one, and we will chat soon. No contract fees for transaction. Not sure what you're asking. I apologize. All the details, all the little details aren't going to matter, guys. It's like, don't get lost in little details. Don't get lost in little details. Just know that you have some responsibilities. You have some massive benefits. And there are small costs relative to those massive benefits, but they're required. It's a part of the deal. And that's about all you need to know. The rest of it, you're all going to learn over time, right? So don't stress about it. All right, guys, I'm out.